welcome. You are welcome to Season 3 of my podcast, More Than a Womanist, the animated talk show series. This is episode 1, and I'm your host, Lenise Merritt. I'm in New York City. It's going to be in the low 50s all day. Today is December 15th, by the way. The winter solstice is coming in on the 21st, the shortest day of the year. And it's been getting darker a lot earlier. I don't mind it. I don't mind the evening sky. I might spend the rest of my day drinking hot chocolate and catching up on some of the new sappy holiday movies I like to watch around this time. Bad Santa was my favorite growing up. I'm in the mood to rewatch Little Man, maybe some White Chicks. My apartment is like a H&M store. I like a little background noise at times. I'll let meditation music play, classical music play. It's a thing I picked up in college. I was looking for new ways to study, then I got into astral projection. You guys know the spiel I gave back in episode 4 of my podcast. Have my hot chocolate handy, by the way. I've been randomly playing the holiday hits on Pandora. I love it when a big name makes a holiday jingle for us. It's cute and timeless. And I want a little Lenny Santa action figure. I want a China doll. I think my late uncle would like that. Rest in paradise, Uncle X. Excuse my French, but fuck cancer. He gave me the name. For those who don't know, my nickname growing up is China. It's what my relatives and childhood friends would call me. But let's get to the news. Biden's popularity is fluctuating in almost every poll, and I'm sure this has to do with his response to some of the events evolving around COVID. The coronavirus has made hiring discrimination legal through vaccine mandates. This is the first vaccine in U.S. history where a card is being distributed by medical institutions as proof of being fully vaccinated. Upon being vaccinated, one is expected to carry the card whenever he or she leaves their home. The proof is needed in order to gain entry into public spaces and has the same validity as a state ID. My hesitancy to take the vaccine revolves around watching the government go from red to blue to a totalitarian government. Mandating people to be vaccinated is the government extending its power by beating out people who don't conform. People who see through their antics, in my opinion. The United States just recently hit the 1-year mark for data on the vaccine. And that was not before new viruses such as Omicron and Delta mutated. Not strains of the coronavirus. We're talking a whole new virus, whole new viruses. The booster has not reached its 1-year mark. The first booster became available a few months ago in September. And may I add, as consumers, we have the right to research products and services before formulating an opinion and making a decision to indulge. You're no longer able, you cannot be an anti-vaxxer when it comes to COVID. And I've been in school and I wrote tons of essays on why it is best to be vaccinated. But this current pandemic is putting me into a category of an anti-vaxxer because my own personal opinions on it regarding the length of time and the control aspect from the government. If you guys understand, like with a totalitarian government, they have the ability to exercise more control over their people. So when they do a vaccine mandate, it's not to woo, but that's not how we are as United States. And under a blue president, The vaccine mandate not only imposes on consumer rights, it imposes on equal employment opportunity rights. And with that being said, the EEOC, the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Department, that institution, is not making enough noise for me. If the supposed reason for this breach in free will is due to a state of emergency, and the new viruses Delta and Omicron are deadlier than COVID, why has pandemic restrictions been lifted? Why has pandemic assistance ended? Why are we more focused on employment rate and big pharma competing globally than the mortality rate? I'm not sure if it's been into effect yet. Actually, I am. But one has to be vaccinated to even be considered for a job now. Alternatives include, well, I don't know about your state, but that's what I heard. And I'm going to check on the news again today. And I'll get back to you guys. But alternatives include working remotely, but not all companies have remote sectors. Sidebar, we have to mention the scarcity in job opportunities offered to graduate students, especially if you have your heart set on working for a larger corporation. Speaking of going corporate, do you know how much harder it is for a black person to enter corporate sector, not climb the corporate ladder, enter corporate? You can eyeball the amount of diversity in a company's retail sector versus their corporate sectors. I'm going off on a tangent a bit, but this pandemic exposed a lot of the barriers of wealth creation that the system has in place, especially when it came time to get back to work. Even with the bill the former president signed, that qualified more people to be eligible for salary-based hiring opportunities by essentially replacing degree and competency-based hiring to create opportunities and open the job market to people who may not have attended or completed a college degree, those who are certified for their skills and trade knowledge, who might fall through the cracks when applying to positions that are normally given to someone who completed higher education, in competition with people who have an Ivy League stamp on their resumes. Stimulus packages were given to everyone, but it's been refined under the Biden administration. But back to his poll numbers, it's a clear difference in government care from the former administration and Biden's administration during the pandemic. The Omicron and Delta virus, is not being properly differentiated from the coronavirus as the deadliest virus since COVID, which made the U.S. lock down. The government's actions is not following the data, what the science is saying. COVID testing sites could be more efficient. Multiple testing sites placed within districts holding communities of people who normally would not step foot into a hospital or a clinic. The testing sites has access to people who don't have medical services. The test requires a small sample of bodily fluid that can be tested for an array of illnesses and diseases, not just COVID. Getting people into the hospital, early detection of diseases and illnesses saves lives. There are certain diseases and illnesses that are more common in a specific group of people, such as diabetes being prevalent in black communities because of our diets, our culture, and the foods that come with it. Hey, happy holidays. Welcome back. Did you hear there will be a vaccine for HIV/AIDS soon? I'm not sure what it entails, but I always check in on it. I sincerely believe there should be compensation for people infected with HIV/AIDS and or family of people who died of HIV/AIDS. It's a public health hazard that the U.S. government hasn't distributed a vaccine to protect against HIV/AIDS. Maybe there needs to be some fire under their ASS, but I hate when the government acts like there needs to be people running around like chickens with their heads cut off in order for them to do their job. The crisis has been an epidemic for the last 20-30 years in the U.S. and holds stigma throughout the world. The groups with the highest risk of contracting HIV/AIDS are ethnic transgenders, and we need to protect trans women. Maybe they can add some STI testing to those sites if it's not going on already. I'm not at every testing site. I don't know what's going on at every testing site, but I know people who work in them, and I'm just taking a look around and formulating my own opinions as I am a consumer. So, and by the way, I don't carry any negative connotation around me as a biological woman wanting to differentiate myself from a trans woman. I'm still an ally. It's like when I call people out, maybe not the best example, it's like when I call people out for cultural appropriation. I'm flattered, genuinely. But no matter how good you look tan, you are not black. Or with braids, you're not black. And at the end of the day, me as a biological woman, I will not ever know what it feels like to have a penis. I will not ever know what it's like to live as a man. I'm an ally of transgender women. I had a tango or two with the same sex. I identified as bisexual for a while. I stopped labeling myself and my sexual orientation, which ultimately labeled me as a pansexual. Hey! If I'm attracted to you, I go with the flow and share the experience. You know, I'm all about my current events. I like to know how other people are having sex. The world is changing. Sex is a great indicator that modesty is changing. I have my first appointment coming up to take, I actually missed my first appointment to take the COVID vaccine. Just last minute, I just was like, I'm just not sure. And I'm comfortable being an independent journalist right now. Like, I'm still in comfortable living conditions, but I would like to move forward. And when I was speaking on corporate, maybe I was being a little biased because I would like to enter the corporate field, go corporate, and use my skills to the best of my ability, and that's when I ran into that problem. But I wasn't sure, and now I'm even being considered. I want to be considered. I want to get these calls back. I would like that, you know? So I'm going to get this vaccine. And that's also what I meant about bleeding people out. Like, forcing them into a corner. Who are we? Is this a democracy, better yet a republic? Or is this a totalitarian government? So I'm scheduled for 3 a.m. tomorrow. I'm getting the Pfizer one. The first one was for Moderna. I've actually heard complaints. See, and hearing complaints about this vaccine is just so much. Hearing complaints. I'm gonna get the Pfizer one. I haven't gotten sick once since the pandemic began. I will say, I do occasionally get, like maybe twice since the pandemic started, I got a cold sore, and that's like my sick. And but I know everyone doesn't have as strong as an immune system. And hopefully we get some vaccines for that, HIV immunodeficiency. But hey, as I stated before, my problem now is with the vaccine and it being mandated, and I can't work without it. But that is all I have for you guys today. Until next time, if there's a next time, guys, pray for me because I'm praying for you. No, I'm joking. But I am praying to the Mother Earth for all of us, okay? No religious barriers, language barriers here. See, that just made me feel like I need to put this transcript in different languages. But hey, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, you're always welcome. Happy holidays. I wanted to release this episode before Christmas and before everything else. And I wanted to put this podcast this season exclusively on YouTube so that you guys can watch it through the YouTube membership. But I've also been considering just adding it to my website. Yeah, I have a website now, hey? So I've been considering that. And this was going to be my last animated talk show season for now. Don't get scared. I just want to make it so much better for you guys. But the podcast will continue. It will continue on streaming services. So you can listen to season 4 and forthcoming seasons as I release them. It's always available for you. But the animated, seeing the visuals, I want that to be sectored off. A lot of sectored words today. But like I said, I love you guys. And come back and visit me again. And this is my show. Have a seat. And I'm gonna give you all of these to all the tea that be happening around me. That was straight off the dome. I don't have a fucking theme, but I'm gonna make one now. Welcome, you are welcomed to this episode of my animated talk show, More Than a Womanist. I'm your host, Lanice Merritt, and I'm coming to you live with love from New York City. Today is December 20th, 5 more days to Christmas, 2 more weeks to 2022. Last episode, I let you guys know I have a vaccination appointment coming up. Well, I took the vaccine. It made my arm sore for a few days. I guess the chip had to get settled in. I'm joking. But happy holidays to all. It's going to be a chilly day. But I'm all warm and fuzzy inside because my websites are finally up and running. My podcast will be on booklandartistry.com. That's where all my content will be posted first. Hopefully that's where you guys are listening to me. A friend bought me flowers to celebrate, and Lord, I'm not complaining, but I don't like fake flowers. And I don't like flowers without the root. I don't like cut flowers. If you buy me flowers, bring it to me in a nice pot with fertilizer for my peace of mind, please. I'm a defender of the earth, okay? In my opinion, we should be worshiping plants. We should be worshiping what's already growing on our earth's crust. We have trees to breathe, plants for medicine, seeds to grow more food. We have everything we need on earth. It's time for a speech on climate change. This is the most interesting stuff on earth, literally. To begin, I am uncomfortable with the fact that, as a people, we still aren't sure what's in the earth's core, or 80% of the ocean. There's an animal at the bottom of the ocean that could possibly hold the cure to cancer. Animals, along with plants, have assisted in breakthrough studies of modern medicine, biomedical research, and their use to manufacture pharmaceuticals. The earliest life form is bacteria. Bacteria can survive extreme conditions, environments humans cannot yet live in. An example of that right now is scientists are taking these life forms to other planets, these earliest life forms to other planets, in order to alter the ecosystems and create a sense of homeostasis and inhabitable environment for human life in the future. Whoa. Their plan is to create a blanket or form a cast over their environment that's already on the planet. This is amazing, we can do that. One of Jupiter's icy moons, or the planet Europa, it was first discovered by Galileo. You guys know, the father of astronomy. And the planet is being tested by scientists for life forms. The astronomers found that its surface is mostly ice with an ocean of liquid water and slush. And as you know, water is essential to life here on Earth. But water is obviously also essential to life forms that are growing on Europa. So every action has a reaction, and that is essential when we're talking about the fight for climate change. Because right now I see space travel as one of those quote-unquote necessary evils. And the evil part is the governments not caring to counteract the pollutants they put into the environment. For example, the holes in the ozone layer from space travel are increasing life-threatening problems for human, animals, and plants on Earth. There will be a space hotel, scheduled to open by 2027, if you guys didn't know, because it was all I was raving about for a few months at a time. But the more journeys we take into space, the more irreversible damage that's done to the ozone layer. I'm curious as to what we're going to do with Europa. It made me think of the Flint water crisis, and the Flint water crisis should not have happened. We are a technological advanced country. That happened in our own back door due to corruption, not incapacity. I believe water should be free. I don't see overconsumption being a problem. If anything, people should drink more water, and more freshwater resources should be available. All water is and can be recycled and reused by processes of filtering. I want to share a story surrounding the death of the first inventor of the water-powered car. And I learned about this from my social studies teacher, who also served in the military. So he was just explaining to me about his time in the military, and we got to a conversation of some of the military technological advancements, some of the advancements that came from war. The guy's name was Stanley Meyer. He was ahead of his time and invented an automotive design for a vehicle that is powered from water instead of fuel. Multiple governments tried to get him to sell, but Stanley wanted his inventions to be open to the public for the people. Stanley was at a meeting with investors when he himself claimed to have been assassinated. While dying, he said, "They poisoned me." Seriously. His supporters believed he was murdered to suppress his inventions. And since then, no engine or vehicle manufacturer has incorporated his work. But other inventions with similar concepts exist that came after him, like the water turbine, which turns the energy from water into mechanical work.
Yeah, it ain't much after it.
That story intrigued me because as much as we've advanced as a people and technologically, we can apply that to climate change. And this is not the first time I gave my take on global warming. I actually have a lot of progressive ideas when it comes to farms and animals in respects to global warming. Human ancestors began hunting animals out of necessity. Hunting animals prompted the creation of spears and weapons, the necessary evils that we need to advance. Hunting provided early humans with food, clothing, materials to sustain themselves, similar to how it does now. In many cultures, animals are celebrated and rituals are performed before killing an animal because it's seen as a sacrifice because it's a luxury. It's not needed. In modern American society, we don't need to hunt animals for food, clothing, jewelry, and carpets out of necessity anymore. We don't have to live like early humans such as the Neanderthals that were forced to commit those acts against nature in order to lengthen the human lifespan. There are alternatives, Humans don't need to kill animals. In fact, it causes harm to ourselves because humans have weaker stomach acids than other mammals and their offsprings. Historically, deadly diseases have easily spread from animal to human. The most common is food poisoning. Another example would be swine flu. The coronavirus was also linked to an animal. Newsflash, what they eat makes us shit. This is heavy stuff. And I vote for the animals to go free. For us to create habitats, yes, the same way we're creating ecosystems on other planets. To create habitats for each species and their respective environments. We've been studying animals for so long. We know how to coexist as well as cultivate a whole species. My vote also goes towards not eating animals and only eating animals that die from natural causes. Studies show that not only does eating meat cause cancer, but hey, because smoking causes cancer as well and people make their own decision, but not only does it cause cancer, it contributes to global warming. And we need our farmers to lead us in climate change. Farms play a significant role in global warming. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency reported that animal agriculture is the single largest source of methane emissions, which is responsible for the negative effects of climate change. And farms include tobacco farms, sugarcane farms, animal farms, and so forth. Farming is one of those things that was once seen to have a positive effect on the environment. Now it's having more of a negative effect on the environment. Before, cases could actually be made for deforestation. Now my vote would be to end deforestation. The earth literally shows us where we can build. Not to mention a lot of these areas are going left unused. And these people and entities that are starting wildfires in order to occupy land is beyond me. It's pure evil, and someone needs to say something. Because these oil companies are continuously carving the Amazon rainforest just for oil and then selling it to the US, and the number one consumer being California. Tis California. Because California, as well as New York, is very progressive and leads the way in reform and changing things, and that was heartbreaking. We need legal action to be taken in order to get the ball rolling. We can't keep sweeping things under the rug with thousands of animals dying from oil spills and forest fires intentionally caused by humans. I rest my case right there. We're coming to the end of our show. A few announcements before you go. On my website, you'll be able to access my discography. I've been working hard on my album Artistry, and it was previously released, then removed from stores due to a little dispute with Apple. But no worries, Apple is getting theirs, and if I don't kick their ass, these antitrust lawsuits will. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much, and come again. I know climate change is marketed as a bit of a bore, sometimes even a conspiracy. But I hope I kept it interesting and got the wheels turning. I love you so much, and I know it's last minute, but hang an ornament or light a candle for me. Happy holidays. Till next time. First, I'm Denise, and this is my show. Have a seat, have a seat. And I'm gonna give you all the deets to all the tea that be happening around me. That was straight off the dome. I don't have a fucking theme song, but I'm gonna make one now. welcome. You are welcomed to my podcast, my animated talk show, More Than a Womanist. I am your host, Lenice Merritt, and we need to talk, so go ahead and have a seat because we're going to talk, okay? Kyle Rittenhouse. His case received a not guilty verdict after he killed 2 people and shot another. As a matter of fact, Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted on all counts. They slapped his ass and told him good game. Now, this case, it occurred during racial injustice protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and it followed the George Floyd uproar that sparked protests all over the country. And we all know the moving video of George Floyd's death. It was F-bomb mortifying. The jury for Kyle Rittenhouse decided that the murders and the assault was not intentional. How was this not intentional? Kyle Rittenhouse, a conservative white man, left his house during a pandemic with a gun strapped to his chest, not just any gun, an AR-15, to go to a heated racial injustice protest. At the time, he was not looking to join the military. I heard now that he's looking to join some type of legal department. That idea came to him after the fact, after the charges were pressed. And upon entering the protest, he was seen by the police, who seen the gun strapped to his chest and decided to thank him for being such a fine young man. The police officer, he can tell by the way his hair was combed. I am in almost disbelief of the politicians who have decided to praise Kyle Rittenhouse. Trump met up with Kyle Rittenhouse after he received his not guilty verdict, and this is disgusting. This guy, this Kyle Rittenhouse, he's being invited to speak at political conferences and receiving standing ovations, as if that boy did not go out there to hunt. And he wasn't even convicted on the gun charge? Are we reading the same news? Did we see the same trial? Because I hate his cry face. God bless. Don't call me if you want to ugly cry. Did we really go from celebrating the reform and progress we were making with George Floyd to this? Were we not vocal enough? Did you guys figure you could let this one slide? Is that the only way for the judicial system to do their job? Because there was a lot of other cases going on at this time. And this one in particular, it seemed like a no-brainer, and it still is. And as I mentioned before, this protest with George Floyd, it sparked all over the country, and the video was devastating. And still, some politicians were advocating for people protesting to be incarcerated and labeled terrorist. But protesting and moving forward with overthrowing the government is actually a right. It's a right. But hold on to that thought for a minute, because I want to get into how this ties into election fraud in Capitol Hill. But first, in response to the uptick to the crime rates, some police departments acquired services from the cybersecurity solutions developer called Shadow Dragon. Now, this Shadow Dragon is what police departments are using to investigate the uptick in crime rates as well as Capitol Hill. Now, protesters of Capitol Hill were also labeled as terrorists, and hundreds were charged for charging the Capitol Hill in order to protest election fraud, but more specifically, the election being stolen from President Trump, and that's revolving around Biden's presidency since he took office. Biden said never before has there been an attempt by state legislators to take over the ability to determine who won, not count the votes, determine who won. And what I gather from that, this situation now with Capitol Hill, in regards to voting fraud, there wasn't enough time before inauguration to accurately count the votes presented by each state.
And you guys know how each state has their own little tricky things going on. So it wasn't enough time to accurately count the votes and decide on logistics surrounding the votes that will be counted, like the mail-in votes, as well as ID. And you guys know Biden is in the midst of packing districts in order to secure a blue vote, but that's a story for another day. But I sincerely felt like we the people were being punished for the 2020 presidential election having a larger turnout. And Trump feels like the election was stolen from him. And I like to say, there's this whole big hoopla about the deep state and not enough coverage on Pizzagate. I mean, did Russia want you to lose this time? What about the election you stole? It's still this big question if Russia interfered with the 2016 Trump campaign, him being elected. Now, if Trump let it slide, underestimating them because it benefited him at the time. And I'm not sure the extent of Trump's relationship with Putin, but they had intimate meetings. Some included golf, others supposedly included a temptress. It was reported by media outlets that Putin supposedly used a woman to seduce Trump during a meeting or just give him some eye candy. What about American values? What about your marriage? Can you be faithful for 4 to 8 years? Is that too much for you? You have bigger fish to fry. And I'm saying that for all the presidents. Are you serious? And what I mean by underestimating Putin and these foreign powers is they caused so much commotion. The Russians succeeded in whatever plan they had to the point that barely anyone was indicted on these charges, with them interfering with the 2016 campaign. From here, it looks like whoever can rig the most avenues wins. Because Biden, as I said, is working on packing entire districts with migrants and misinformed voters in order to secure his vote. Now, when you're growing up in America, you have to wait 18 years to vote in America, and you have to go through the school system. And I'm going to leave it there. The next election is 2 years away, and we need to get these voting rights together now, because this is disgusting. It's making a fool out of us. There was a recent breach, an Elasticsearch server backed by a politically motivated agenda that targeted the U.S. and other countries, supporting theories that foreign powers have the capacity and the will to intervene with an United States election. And now this server in particular, this server ES, it was said by the name of SocialNet, and it was based in China. Now, SocialNet is a software product of Shadow Dragon, the company I previously mentioned, and Shadow Dragon was announced in 2015 as a sister company to Pac Ninja that was already in progress since, I'm not sure, I don't have the date, but it's a cybersecurity monitoring company, and it has AI-driven community surveillance. The U.S. was compromised completely. Sensitive data related to U.S. legislation, along with data on details surrounding communications of U.S. politicians, and the attackers also scraped finance data from the Federal Election Commission website. And from the investigation, they found out that the server also collected Twitter data that belonged to the U.S. senators and had data sets with usernames and passwords. And the amount of data they had, the amount of information they had, 4.4 billion, it was 4.4 billion sets of data. How long was that data acquired? Like, what was the time period for how long that data was acquired? They were monitoring the social media activities of U.S. politicians, activists who have protested against China, and other nationalities who have some level of stiffness or they don't have relations, like close relations to China, like they're not allies. So there was also information on Taiwan, and Taiwan's been in the news a lot, especially with us, the U.S. We're letting Taiwan know that we would help if China decides to invade them. Or it was a question, it was a debate if the U.S. would help Taiwan if China invaded. But China's foreign minister today is singing the Gary Come Home song and calling Taiwan a wanderer. So, at the end of the day, it was public information. It was said to be public information, but it's eerie that our government is having a hard time defending itself as politicians that make up the government. And it looks like foreign powers are taking us for fools, and they're using big tech's greed and their vast net, their vast scope to do it. I know that was hot and heavy, and that's all that I'm going to give you guys today. Make sure you tune in for the next episode. Happy holidays, happy New Year's, happy Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating. Light a candle for me, hang an ornament. And, someone told me a funny joke. What did he say? It's like, I don't even know this guy. It's like, I've been a bad citizen, punish me. I'm going to leave some coal in your stocking. How about that? Leave some coal in there for me. Maybe for my hookah. Who knows what I'm doing this Christmas. I got invited to a few Christmas parties. I hope you guys have some fun and spike the eggnog. That's my favorite drink during the holiday season. I love it. It goes well with everything. I'm not sure what I'm cooking this Christmas yet. I actually had ham for Thanksgiving instead of Christmas because I'm not a super big turkey eater anyway. I like my meat moist, and for some reason not everyone's turkey comes out well, and I didn't want Thanksgiving to be my first time making a turkey all by myself. It was to the point I was like, should I have chicken? I'm like, no, if I'm just going to eat something else that's not turkey, I might as well get a ham. And my ham was amazing. I mean, it was the first time that I made it alone as well, but I had more of a hand with making more help with making the ham before. So I just knew exactly what to do. I was in charge of making the ham sauce, the glaze. So it came out really nice. I'm really excited for Christmas. I already have my tree. I had my tree up since Thanksgiving. It's a little tree. I didn't go purchase a tree that they cut down. You guys know how I feel about that. But at the same time, it is tradition in my home. Growing up, my father would always go get a big tree, tie it down to the van or whatever big Jeep or truck we had, and always put the tree up. And throughout the weeks, we'd see random gifts appearing under the tree, and it was just so beautiful and amazing. I'm the type of kid that just can't wait. I'm poking holes just to peek through the presents. So I really do hope you guys have an amazing time. Another tradition I have is we always open one gift on Christmas Eve. Yeah, I literally couldn't wait. So love you guys. Enjoy it. Make sure you give everyone that you love a call. I'm pretty sure everyone's looking to hear from you. And just wear your fat pants. Okay. Till next time. Mwah. First, I'm Denise. And this is my show. Have a seat. And I'm going to give you all the deets to all the tea that be happening around me. That was straight off the dome. I don't have a fucking theme song. But I'm going to make one now. Welcome. You are welcome to the last episode of the animated talk show More Than a Womanist Season 3. We're on episode 4 or 12 if you're from the podcast. I'm your host, Denise. I'm in New York City, and today is the first day of winter. The weather is in the low 40s as expected, no snow, and I can't say I'm mad about that. I decided I won't go see the ball drop in person this year, but I will go see the tree early on Christmas Day. I've been going over my New Year's resolutions, and I want to challenge myself financially this year. So by this time next year, I want to be looking at potential new homes. I want to put a down payment or investment into my first house. And where you buy a house is important. We're going to get to that. But I know I have a lot of things to consider as far as location and the paperwork, permits, avenues I will have to go through. But also if I plan on starting a family in that home. And if I want to wait to get married to buy my first home. And I know some people might think, what's the rush? But why wait? Like, what am I waiting for? So I've been doing my due diligence. According to the National Association of Home Builders, low housing inventory and strong demand appear to be the biggest drivers for confidence going into the new year. The growing number of homebuyer activity has highlighted the housing shortage across the U.S., in particular for homes at entry and mid-level price ranges. So through Biden's Build Back Better bill, roughly $170 billion for housing was approved. Grants are not made directly for individual home buyers or homeowners. They are given to grantees, and these grantees are responsible for ensuring that the home buyers or homeowners are income qualified and eligible recipients of funds under the program. There are individual requirements, and a lot of things to consider for each person seeking a loan from grantees. In New York State, the State of New York Mortgage Agency is offering the mortgage programs. One is called Achieving the Dream and the other is Low Interest Rate. The Achieving the Dream offers assistance to those who need help with down payments, home repairs, and remodeling. The Low Interest Rate offers help for those who need help with lower down payment rates and requirements and competitive interest rates to qualified buyers. So something cool that I was looking at when I was checking this out was that they have something here for purchasing a vacant home in certain areas could qualify you for additional funds for repairs and remodeling. So, I'm a big remodeling show fan. I'm a big DIY girl, so I thought that was cool. But I took a look at the income requirements for New York State, and the lowest target income was around $84,000, which means that you will have to be making around $7,000 a month. In New York State, minimum wage is $15. That's around $2,400 a month. If you make minimum wage, it's going to take significantly longer to save. And some programs are offered where one can invest in rental property he or she lives in until they purchase the home with little interest rates. But we need salary, we need higher wages. Something has to give, because another thing I want to point out is home ownership rates for people under 35. Only 37% of people aged under 35 own homes. And that percentage significantly increases, doubles, after 35, with 60 to 80% of people aged 35 to 64 owning homes. And like I said before, what's to wait for? In more recent news, we're hearing that Republicans are working on, well, have been proposing the redistricting maps. And okay, so over the summer, we heard a Wisconsin court sided with GOP and approved an early sign-off to new congressional boundaries. And some people feel like it was at the expense of communities of color, because the recent proposals on redistricting congressional boundaries of states are being done in retaliation to voting fraud and tracking, I would say, and it's see-through, because every state has the community board of politicians that advise officials on the welfare of the district. And right now, it's the Republicans who have nearly complete control of the map making process, because they have control of both chambers. So this is like a Republican-led effort to redraw maps whose demographics aren't fitting what's going on. And the redistricting will determine the distribution of political power for the next decade. So this is really important. And they're working off maps that the courts have already declared as tilted and gerrymandering. So with that being said, I'm urging you guys to get out there and vote. Every election within your state and your district is important as well. That is all the time we have for today, but I do have a few more announcements. I have been petitioning to run for office in New York State in order to be elected and serve as a member of the House of Representatives. You can visit my website, lenicemerritt.org. And the petition will be located on the website along with my blog, and I will continue to canvass across New York City. If you would like to join me or schedule a virtual meeting, the forms are located on the website as well. When you get to the site, take a look around. I post updates daily relating to my campaign, and just follow the trail. I'll leave the link. I need all the support I can get, and it does not go unnoticed. Now, season 4 will be released in 2022. I wanted to go into the new year with More Than a Womanist wrapped in a bow. I love you. Till next time, thank you so much for all this love I got during this season. And I hope you keep going with me. Thank you. Happy holidays. Till next time. First things first, I'm Lenice. And this is my show. Have a seat, have a seat. And I'm gonna give you all of these to all the tea that be happening around me. That was straight off the dome. I don't have a fucking theme song.